Hi there, it's Dr. Mary Barbera here with today's YouTube Live. I am going to do a couple things technically here. So I am going to talk all about my new book, Turn Autism Around, an action guide for parents of young children with autism, early signs of autism. I am going to be specifically talking about 3 ways to teach responding to name. And I'm going to talk about all that in a minute. If you are here, if you can leave me a message, that would be awesome. Do it in the comments and we will get going in just a second. And we are ready, I think. Okay, so I am Dr. Mary Barbera here, and I have been in the autism world for over 2 decades. First, as a very overwhelmed, confused parent, and 2 decades later as a parent of a 24-year-old with moderate to severe autism, as well as a 23-year-old son who's in medical school. I have gone from being completely overwhelmed to a board-certified behavior analyst, a best-selling author. I have a PhD. I've traveled around the world speaking on autism, wrote a best-selling book in 2007 called The Verbal Behavior Approach. And now my new book is coming out at the end of the month, which is the reason why I committed to 30 days of lives. So tonight's topic, wherever you're listening from, I see we have Lily Daisy here. She is our top fan. She has not missed a session of our live broadcast. And Lily is in Australia, and she's also a member of our online course and community. So we are going to talk about the 3 ways to teach response to name. So I know Lily can hear me. And let me just check one more thing. Okay, great. And then after I give you the little rundown about response to name, last night we got a lot of questions and comments that parents were writing in saying their children were not responding to name. So I thought I would cover that for tonight's content. And then after I do my little short explanation, then I will be back to taking a few questions. If it's related to the topic, extra bonuses, or if you've already pre-ordered the book, that would be awesome too. So you can pre-order the book at turnautismaround.com, and we'll get going with the 3 ways to teach response to name. Okay, so first, it's a problem. And as I said, last night we had a few people post about response to name. It's actually included in both of my books, the Verbal Behavior Approach book and my new book. It is in chapter 2 as a sign of autism. So a sign of autism might be that your child does not respond to his or her name by a year, by 18 months, by 2 years. I'm not 100% sure what the age cutoff is when you should be worried, but it's a baby skill, that if mommy comes in and says the child's name, the child would probably look. So a lot of times people think that maybe the child's deaf because they're not responding to their name. I know that was the case for us when Lucas started showing signs of autism when he was going to get diagnosed. One of the standard procedures is to rule out hearing loss. But a couple nights before the hearing test, we had the TV on, and Lucas used to love the Pennsylvania Lottery song. So it's like the Pennsylvania Lottery, and Lucas came running around the corner. And so my husband looked at me and we were like, yeah, I don't think he has a hearing problem. So it's a selective hearing problem. And a lot of times it's confusing. So you could kind of do your own little test by playing something the child likes in the background while he's doing something else and see if he responds. Okay, so if you do have a child that isn't responding to their name, well, first of all, you should really get the book, pre-order it at turnautismaround.com. You can also search after this live, Mary Autism Response to Name. I have a video blog that you can look at. If you have my first book, you can look it up in there. Nice thing about this book too, and my first book, is that we have a whole glossary, an index, and we also have a glossary, with some definitions. But we have an index, so that's really good for me because I was able to just look up quickly name and response to name. So here are my 3 tips if you have a child who's not responding to their name. First of all, I would say stop using your child's name constantly. And if you're a teacher or an early intervention provider, this advice is for you too. We tend to overuse our kids' names, especially when we're saying no or placing a demand. So if you're not getting your child's attention, you might raise your voice, say their name again with the demand. You might say their first name and their middle name. Parents, I know when I was little, they didn't get your attention the first time with your name. They might use your middle name or get a louder voice. So we need to stop using our kids' names every other sentence out of our mouth. And if you're a teacher, I've seen this too, because I was in schools for many, many years. And the teacher would have the child at the table, Tommy, touch your nose. Tommy, do this. Tommy. I'm like, stop using his name. When Lucas's first consultant came to our house, we had my parents were there, 3 therapists, myself and my husband. There were, 6 or 7 adults in the room and the consultant, and Lucas was the only child. And she'd say, well, can he touch his body parts? And I'd be, Lucas, touch your head. Lucas, touch, and she would say something else. And constantly we were saying, Lucas, stop. Lucas, come here. Lucas. And she said, everybody stop using Lucas's name. That's first and foremost. It adds complexity. It's paired with demands. There's no reason to use it. So, step number 1, stop using the name frequently. Step number 2, use the name when you're delivering reinforcement very sparingly. So, if you're pushing the child on the swing, you could be pairing the words like push, or swing. Or you might say, 1, 2, 3, wee, Johnny, wee. And, as if he's smiling, if he's happy, if he's seeing your face, if you're handing him a banana and you're saying, banana, Johnny, banana, and he likes that. Okay, so now you're repairing the name only when you're doing something the child likes, giving him something, or engaged in an activity where he's smiling and happy. That's step 2. Okay, so we stop using the name constantly. We start using the name very rarely, but when we do, it's because he likes something. And then step number 3, which is outlined in page 127 of my new book. There's a whole box on it. The box is called Getting Your Child to Respond to His Name. And what you want to do is you want to gather a couple reinforcers. This can be small pieces of edibles, bubbles, something that you can give to the child that will disappear. A sip of juice, those sorts of things. So I'll use bubbles as an example, because bubbles, if the child likes bubbles, you can get close to the child while the child is engaged doing something else. And you can say, Johnny, and you're right, like next to him, behind him slightly, maybe tap his shoulder and blow the bubbles. So that you say his name, blow the bubbles, and pair his name, slightly turning around. Oh, I get something I like. Or with a small piece of a pretzel or something. Johnny, pretzel, good, and that's how we repair the situation. Okay, So, and then we systematically fade our distance, fade the edibles and the bubbles and the reinforcement, and you will slowly but surely. I mean, this is one of 1,000 strategies in my book. So this isn't going to be a once, you learn this and all of a sudden everything's great, because there's so many skills that you're going to need to teach your child. It is a red flag for autism, but it could be just a speech delay, just overuse of their name. It could be early signs of ADHD or something else. So if your child doesn't have a diagnosis but is showing some of these signs that have been covered a few days ago in our lives, is part of my book. And actually, if you pre-order the book now and join our launch team, you will get to read chapters 1 and 2, which is all about the early signs of autism. So here, once again, is where you want to go. You want to go to turnautismaround.com, and that's where you're going to go. Okay, so let me see if we have some questions. And then I'll summarize those for those of you who, will this video be recorded? Yes. So if you go to Facebook, marybarbera.com/Facebook, this will be listed. It's day 9 of 30. So you can scroll through the page. You can go into the video section of my Facebook page, and you can look around. This is day 9 of 30. So you can rewatch that. Excellent. Okay, anybody have any questions that I can answer? I'll look for a few. Okay, I have a couple people. Sandra and Lisa both ordered the book. Don't forget, if you do pre-order the book, go back to turnautismaround.com, put it in your email, put in your name and your customer number where you ordered it, and you can join our launch team. We're going to close the launch team soon. I'm going to give away prizes. We just firmed that up today. It's exciting. We're only 20 days out from the actual book launch. I am getting TV interviews, radio interviews, podcast interviews, and it's going to be big, and it's going to be really helpful to all of you with young kids with early signs of autism, or older kids with moderate to severe autism who are still having trouble with, they're not conversational, they're having problem behaviors, they're having potty problems, sleep problems, eating problems, going to the doctor, dentist. It's all covered in my book, and you are not going to want to give this away. So you may want to buy a couple copies, because this is going to be a guide. Okay, and Sandra is from North Carolina. Actually, I'm going to be on the radio, on an AM radio channel in North Carolina tomorrow morning at 8:40. So I'm not sure the address. So I don't know. Just join my launch team. I'm going to be posting, my interviews and that sort of thing. So. All right, well, we have a pretty quiet group tonight. And yes, all the previous videos are on my Facebook page. They're also on my YouTube page as well. So you can just search all my live videos. And on Facebook, I'm actually saying day 3 of 30, day 4 of 30. So you'll be able to rewatch this. So let me just summarize, and then I'll answer any further questions. Somebody said, where do I find the book? Turnautismaround.com is on the screen. So if you go there, it'll give you can watch a 2-minute trailer about it. Then you scroll down, and it'll have the link for Amazon, the link for Barnes & Noble. If you're from outside of the United States, you can search Turn Autism Around book, pre-order, see where it takes you. I also have an international order page, a bulk order. One of the Dr. Cheryl Tierney, who was on our podcast today, she is a developmental pediatrician at Hershey. She got done with the interview, and she read the book in the draft form, and she ordered 100 copies to give out to her patients. Okay, so a lot of people are, where can I buy the book? It's on the screen, turnautismaround.com. Okay. And whether or not your child is diagnosed with autism, do you think he will eventually respond to your name, to their name? Absolutely. This is a teachable skill, just like pointing. It's definitely teachable. So if you are still having trouble, and I think Tina's in our online course and community as well, post in there. But yes, it's stop. So here's the 3 steps. Stop using your child's name and tell everybody around you to stop using the name so frequently, especially when paired with no, stop, or a demand. Okay, that's step 1. Step 2 is to repair the name very slowly, only when giving your child something good or doing a preferred activity. And you don't want to be using it, 20 times in 10 minutes while you're playing Legos. You want to pair it in only when the child's happy, smiling, everything's good. And then step 3 would be these systematic trials where you're sitting behind him, and you're delivering. But you also want to say bubbles, and you don't want to over focus on your child's name. So maybe you want to get some other skills going, some other words going, bubbles and all the reinforcing things. And then you want to pair up the name program. But there's no doubt in my mind that a child can learn to respond to their name readily. Okay. Okay, so it looks like, all right. And Vivian said she already ordered on Amazon. If you did, make sure you go back to turnautismaround.com and join our launch team. I am going to get closing that in a little while. We're going to release chapter 3 on safety. So you'll be able to read chapters 1, 2, and 3 right out of the gate this week and get started turning things around. Okay, what do you do when an 18-month-old just wants to spin objects, does not like food, no toys, and we're not using iPad, just has a meltdown when you try and initiate an activity before giving the reward? Yeah, it's a whole process. And one of the things is you're going to need to use some reinforcing things. So maybe if they like to spin, cups or whatever, maybe find wind-up toys that spin that kind of have a fun thing, but the adult actually needs to spin it. So you can become part of the fun. That's one little thing, but you definitely need to start with the assessment, make a plan, learn how to teach him, and learn how to have him run to the teaching area, preferably a small table and chairs, to learn from you. And it's all outlined in my online courses, it's all outlined in my book, and you can do it. Okay, Assad said, I already ordered the book. Can you advise on how to calm my grandson getting angry out of the blue? We don't know why. He speaks only a few words. We want to spend 95% of our time preventing problem behavior, and that's going to be the topic. I think tomorrow is, maybe this out of the blue angry thing. If I gave you $1,000 to tell me why you think he had the problem behavior, it's probably related to not getting something he wants, or a demand being placed that he doesn't want to do. And so we really have to start with his age, his ability level, the 1-page assessment, the 1-page plan, just a bunch of things, and stop thinking about like reactive strategies. How can I turn that off? Because that's probably not going to work. Once a child has outbursts, crying, tantrums, angry, hitting, once that starts, there's not a win-win situation. But my approach is child-friendly, teaches and empowers parents to detect and treat the earliest signs of autism. Okay, so I am going to head out again on the screen, turnautismaround.com, pre-order the book, join our launch team. It's going to be too late. In probably another week, we're going to close down the group. We're going to close it so that we can really work with we're up to almost 550 people, like-minded parents, grandparents, professionals in there. We're going to work with our team, whether that's 600 people or 700 people, and we're going to work with you all in there to really promote this book and get the word out to everyone you know, that there is a better way and that parents can do a lot with or without a diagnosis, with or without a team of professionals helping them at the moment. So thanks for tuning in. Again, you can go to marybarbera.com/Facebook or /YouTube to watch any of these. This is day 9 out of 30. I'll be back tomorrow for day 10 out of 30. Have a good one.